Whenever we try to move meaning from one language to another, we are engaging in a highly specialized subset of human communication: translation. This transfer of meaning splits into two distinct channels: spoken interpretation and written translation. Spoken interpretation happens in real time. The moment an utterance leaves the speaker's mouth, it dissipates into the environment. Unless recorded, the raw data is gone forever. This places an immense cognitive load on the interpreter. They have to process the source language and formulate the target language simultaneously, without the ability to hit pause, consult a dictionary, or natively correct an error mid-sentence. Written translation operates differently. It locks information into a fixed physical space, ensuring that the words stay put. Because the text is permanent, it invites a level of structural precision and rigorous editing that real-time interpretation simply cannot afford. Our modern, globalized society runs on this fixed translated text. It serves as an invisible bridge connecting disparate cultures and economies. Look at everyday commerce. Instructions for consumer electronics, warning labels on shipping containers, or digital signage at a local pharmacy. They are all systematically broadcast in multiple languages. But those commercial translations deal with contemporary concepts shared across modern societies. Translating an ancient, sacred text presents an entirely different set of geographic and historical hurdles. To take a text from thousands of years ago and make it legible to an isolated minority language today, a translator has to reverse engineer the foundational building blocks of both the language and the culture itself. Consider a real-world legal deposition involving a Swahili-speaking witness. This scenario perfectly illustrates the danger of assumptions required in real-time interpretation. In Swahili, a witness might use the word alipiga to say hit me. However, the language is ambiguous regarding gender here. That specific phrasing could mean he hit or she hit. The speed of live conversation forces the interpreter to immediately guess the pronoun to keep the sentence moving. If they guess wrong, they introduce a critical factual error into the court record. Now, look at how a written translator handles that exact same linguistic roadblock. The translator stops. They research the surrounding context, consult their peers, and verify the facts. Then they actively revise the document until the text aligns perfectly with the truth. This luxury of time and iterative peer review elevates written translation. It takes what might otherwise be a rapid-fire guess and refines it into a verifiable, objective artifact. Getting the facts straight is only the first step. The next major barrier is the mechanics of the target language itself. You cannot map words on a strict one-to-one ratio across cultures. Different languages build their sentences using entirely different architectural rules for syntax. A Spanish speaker says Casablanca, structuring the noun before the adjective. An English speaker says White House, requiring the blocks to swap positions to make grammatical sense. Many of the minority languages targeted for Bible translation present a much steeper challenge. They do not currently have a written alphabet. To solve this, a translator must live embedded within the culture. They map the precise phonetic sounds the locals make and invent a viable written alphabet from scratch, a process called orthography. Before they can communicate any spiritual truths or translate a single verse, they must first become the architect of the language's structural foundation. Once the mechanics are solved, translators face a second, often wider barrier: the cultural worldview. A linguistically perfect sentence will still fail to communicate if the target audience lacks the underlying cultural context to grasp the specific metaphor. Read this bench in East Africa. Don't insult a crocodile before crossing the river. The grammar is perfectly clear, but the wisdom relies entirely on a local understanding of the specific environmental threats present in that region. Bible translators face an extreme version of this cultural gap. They are pulling meaning from ancient Greek and Hebrew texts authored thousands of years ago. The source text relies heavily on ancient agricultural metaphors and societal structures. Translators have to carefully adapt those concepts so they resonate accurately with modern communities living in completely different biomes and social hierarchies. Success requires transporting an ancient worldview into a modern mind, effectively bridging thousands of years of human history. This creates a unique paradox for the profession. Is translation an analytical science or a creative art? The science requires left-brain algorithmic rigor to map phonetics, parse grammar, and build accurate linguistic trees. Yet the final execution is an art, relying on human intuition to select phrasing that carries the original author's emotional weight. Exceptional translation emerges only when that rigid, scientific precision serves as the scaffolding for human artistic communication. We understand the mechanics, but we also have to look at the ultimate purpose driving the people who actually do this work. Creating dictionaries and alphabets from scratch provides a massive developmental benefit to marginalized cultures. By codifying an unwritten language, translators give a community the physical tools required for internal literacy, formal education, and the preservation of their own history, regardless of their religious beliefs. This fieldwork establishes a baseline for community development and literacy long before a single verse is translated. While Bible translation applies these same linguistic rigors as commercial work, it operates toward a specific theological end. Practitioners understand their work as part of the Missio Dei, or the mission of God. This framework describes a singular, overarching goal: the theological reconciliation between humanity and its Creator. Translators view these technical linguistic efforts as a form of worship, where the precision of the grammar itself becomes an act of spiritual service. The science of linguistics and the art of communication result in a permanent text that preserves a local culture while delivering the message of the Missio Dei.